Really interesting interview on the Young Turks where Cenk Uygur interviewed Senator Elizabeth Warren, Massachusetts Democrat Elizabeth Warren, about a number of issues. And she's considered, I guess, is it fair to say she's the second most progressive senator? Like Bernie would be the most progressive and then it's Elizabeth Warren. Is that?
I think even Cenk asked her that, and it seems like she's number two, yes.
Yeah, so I think that that's a fair thing to say. So Cenk asked a reasonable question, which is, why didn't you come out in support of Bernie Sanders during the Democratic primary last year? And Elizabeth Warren, I love Elizabeth Warren. We've had her in studio. Great things I could say all day about Elizabeth Warren with peace and love. But this is kind of a bizarre answer. Take a listen to this.
Of course, you know, the person most widely considered to be the most progressive senator is Bernie Sanders. Yeah. So a natural question is, why not back him during the 2016 primaries if you two are the closest aligned in policy?
So look, I think that our primary, I thought was a good thing. And I thought it was good that Bernie was out there, that Hillary was out there. They were giving two different visions. They were out there through all the states. I thought it put both energy on our side. I'll tell you something else I thought it did. It made me proud to be a Democrat. You know, while the Republicans were doing their clown car thing, you know, with who was going to be voted off the island, and then of course ended up with a reality star as their standard bearer. I was proud of what Democrats were out there talking about. I thought it was the right thing to do. And in the end, when it was time, I went out there and fought once it was resolved to try to get Hillary elected, and I would have done the same for Bernie, no doubt about it.
So sometimes it's really useful to actually look at the words of what was said here. So let's put it up on the screen. Again, the question was, why didn't you support Bernie Sanders during the primaries? And what Elizabeth Warren says is, number one, I think that our primary was a good thing. That's not an answer. That's just not an answer. Number two, I thought it was good that Bernie and Hillary were out there with two visions. Well, you can support there being two visions and still decide to help one candidate over the other if their vision aligns more with yours. Number three, it made me proud to be a Democrat during the Republican clown car primary. Not an answer to the question. And also, we're going to talk about number three a little bit more in a second. Number four, I was proud of what Democrats were talking about, and it was the right thing to do. Not an answer. Number five, in the end, when it was time, I went out there and fought once it was resolved to help Hillary. And number six, I would have done the same for Bernie Sanders. I like Elizabeth Warren. I do. I've interviewed her. This is not an answer. And Cenk tried to follow up too, and here's how that went.
When it was time, I went out there and fought once it was resolved to try to get Hillary elected, and I would have done the same for Bernie, no doubt about it.
Do you get why some progressives are still mad about that? That Massachusetts was decided by 1.3 points, Iowa was decided by 0.3, that perhaps he could have helped him put him over the top, and then he would have won Iowa, New Hampshire, Massachusetts.
And there are people who see it the other way.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I think about it this way. There is nothing the Republicans would love better than for us to stand around and shoot at each other.
This is not about attacking Elizabeth Warren's politics, okay? Again, she is the second most progressive senator in the Senate, and that is something that we should be supporting. I would respect Elizabeth Warren more and understand this more if she had said something else, ideally the truth, whatever it was, right? Maybe it's, hey, you know what? I calculated that it would have been bad for my political career to come out now and support one candidate over the other. I decided to wait until it was resolved. Or it might have been, hey, I agreed to stay out of the primary, either because someone asked her, Hillary, the DNC, whoever, we don't know. Or she could have said, I genuinely didn't think that Bernie could win. And by the time it seemed like maybe he could win, I felt it wasn't a good idea to get involved. Whatever. Anything is better than no answer at all.
Yeah, I think the actual answer there is that she, like pretty much everyone else, thought Hillary Clinton was going to be the Democratic nominee, and then she wanted to position herself well in her administration if she was to win, perhaps even be her vice president, which she was considered for.
Yeah, so anything, what Pat is suggesting, what I'm saying, anything would have been a better answer than not giving an answer. Now, I want to drill down on number three. If we can put that back up just for a second, Pat. Part three of Elizabeth Warren's explanation, which was not an explanation, is it made me proud to be a Democrat during the Republican clown car primary. I don't know how anyone who watched the Democratic primary could come away proud about what happened. Corporate Democrats using every opportunity they could to prevent Bernie Sanders from really having a fair shot. The debate times and the initial schedule of debates, although ultimately the DNC couldn't hold back and more debates were scheduled, scheduling debates on Sunday night of 3-day weekends and impacting voting times even during some primaries. I don't know how anyone could have watched that disaster, the utterly abortive Democratic primary that took place, and say, that made me proud to be a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat. I've never been a Democrat or a Republican. I was embarrassed by how the Democrats ran that primary.
It's really not even so clear as to if there's a contentious primary, if that means that the person that comes out of it will have a better or worse chance at winning the general election.
Right.
So in 2008, John McCain won that nomination for the Republicans pretty easily.
Yep.
Obama and Hillary was a lot more contentious, and of course, Obama came
still
out
won.
on top. Yeah.
I think that there is this idea from some in the establishment Democratic Party that you want your candidate to sail through the primary process because it will help them in the eventual national election. There's no reason to think that that's true. And thus, I don't think that that's the primary motivator behind the DNC effectively uniting to hurt Bernie Sanders and help Hillary Clinton. So I don't know why we didn't just get an answer to the question from Elizabeth Warren, but we didn't get an answer. And I'm glad that Cenk at least attempted to follow up there.